Fighting is ordained for you Muslims, though you dislike it, and it may be that you dislike a thing which is good for you, and that you like a thing which is bad for you. Allah knows, but you do not know. Jihad is a communal obligation, as Allah has said. Not equal are those of the believers who sit at home, except those who are disabled, and those who strive hard and fight in the cause of Allah with their wealth and their lives. Allah has preferred in grades those who strive hard and fight with their wealth and their lives above those who sit at home. Unto each Allah has promised good paradise, but Allah has preferred those who strive hard and fight above those who sit at home by a huge reward. Allah has informed that there is greater virtue for those who strive for His sake, while both they and those who sit at home shall receive what is good. If those who sat at home were failing to perform an obligation, they would then receive what is evil and not what is good. You should realize that it is recommended to make jihad often. Based on the verses and the reports concerning it, the minimum that is obligatory in a year is once, as the Prophet did not leave any year after being obliged to make jihad except that he made it at least once. Following his example is obligatory. Furthermore, this is a recurring obligation, and the minimum required to meet the recurring obligation is once per year, like fasting and zakah. If need requires more than once a year in a year, more than once is obligatory, as it is a communal obligation and must be determined according to its need. And Allah alone knows best. However, we must understand, and the people as well must understand, that there is no fighting in Islam until after the announcement of the beginning of hostilities. Furthermore, the enemy must first receive a choice between accepting Islam, paying the jizya, or fighting additionally. Agreed upon pacts, if any, must be openly repudiated. In the case of fearing betrayal, the final pact will be with the non-Muslim citizens, accepting the authority of Islam and paying the jizya. This is the only pact that is acceptable, unless the Muslims are in a state of weakness, and therefore the ruler decides in their specific circumstances to agree during that state to accept a treaty of some sort. The etiquette of fighting. Whenever the Messenger of Allah appointed anyone as leader, an army or detachment, he would especially exhort him to fear Allah and to be good to the Muslims who were with him. He would say, "Fight in the name of Allah, and for the sake of Allah, fight against those who disbelieve in Allah. Go in warfare, and do not embezzle the spoils. Do not break your pledge, and do not mutilate the dead bodies. Do not kill the children. When you meet your enemies who are polytheists, invite them to 3 courses of action. If they respond to any one of these, accept it and refrain from fighting them. Invite them to accept Islam. If they respond to you, accept it from them and desist from fighting against them. Then invite them to migrate from their lands to the land of immigrants in Medina, and inform them that if they do so, they shall have all the privileges and obligations of the immigrants. If they refuse to migrate, tell them that they will have the status of Bedouin Muslims and will be subjected to the commands of Allah that are enforced upon the believers. but they will not get any share from the spoils of war except when they actually fight with the Muslims. If they refuse to accept Islam, demand from them the jizya. If they agree to pay it, accept that from them and refrain from fighting them. If they refuse to pay the jizya, seek Allah's help and fight them. A woman was found dead after one of battles of the Messenger of Allah. Therefore, the Messenger of Allah forbade the killing of women and children. The Prophet said, as a teacher to the people of Yemen, he advised with the following: "You are coming to the people from the people of the book. Invite them to testify that there is none worthy of worship except Allah, and that I am the messenger of Allah. If they obey you in that, inform them that Allah has obligated 5 prayers upon them in every day and night. If they obey you in that, inform them that Allah has obligated a charity upon them, that is to be taken from their rich and returned to their poor. If they obey you in that, beware of taking the best of their wealth, and fear the supplication of the oppressed, for there is no barrier between it and Allah. Upon one is jihad obligatory. Jihad is obligatory upon every adult, sane-free male Muslim who has the ability to fight and has the financial means to support himself and his family in his absence. As for the requirement of being a Muslim, this is obvious, as jihad is fighting against the disbelievers. As for the requirement of being an adult and not a child, it is based on the statement of Ibn Umar: "I was presented to the Messenger of Allah before the Battle of Uhud while I was 14 years old, and he did not permit me. I was then presented for the Battle of Khandaq while I was 15, and he permitted me." As for the requirement of being sane and not otherwise, it is based on the hadith presented earlier. The pen recording the deeds has been raised and is not recording. For 3, the one who is sleeping until he awakens, the child until he reaches the age of puberty, and the insane one until he becomes sane. As for the requirement of being male, this is based on the hadith of Aisha, who said, "O Messenger of Allah, is there any jihad upon women?" He replied, "Yes, upon them is a type of jihad that does not include in it fighting the Hajj and Umrah."